Forecaster Zach Briscoe here along with Ryan Krim. We're going to be taking a look at the end of November and the start of December outlook. So Ryan, what are we going to be looking at?
Today we're just going to take a little bit of a look at the indices that are very important to getting winter weather along the eastern seaboard. So the NAO, the AO, MJO, QBO, you name it.
Alright, well let's jump right into this. First thing we're going to talk about is the QBO, and that's the quasi-biennial oscillation. Now a negative phase is east-based and causes colder temperatures in the United States, while a positive phase is west-based and causes warmer temperatures in the United States. And what we're talking about with the QBO is stratospheric warming over the pole, the North Pole to be exact, and that allows colder temperatures to come down from the North Pole into the United States. Now the current QBO is 11.69 and falling, and it's predicted to turn negative within the next 2 to 3 months, so if it does, it could be a pretty active February and March, but it's not really going to impact our weather here at the end of November or the start of December. Next, taking a look at the PDO, and that's the Pacific Decadal Oscillation. Now, a positive phase causes colder and wetter conditions in the eastern United States, while a negative phase leads to warmer conditions in the eastern United States. The current PDO is negative 0.87, and we're predicting it to stay around 0 to negative 1 throughout the winter, so it's not really going to have a major effect on the weather conditions. But the times when it does go into the positive realm, that's when things start to get pretty active.
Hey Zach, I've heard that in the past when we have a positive PDO in place that significant snowstorms could result.
Yeah, Ron, that's correct. 2002, 2003, and most recently 2009, 2010 were pretty big winters due to a positive PDO. Also, the blizzard of '96 was also in a positive PDO situation. Next, we'll take a look at the MJO, and this is the Madden-Julian Oscillation. Phases 8, 1, 2, and 3 are cold in the United States, particularly the eastern United States. While the current phase is none, it's not really in any phase, it's kind of in a non-wave phase, but it's predicted to go into 8, 1, or 2 in the next 1 to 2 weeks, so colder temperatures will start moving in. Ryan, let's take a look at the NAO, PNA, and all the other indices that you're going to be talking about.
Thanks, Zach. And we're going to take a look here at the NAO, as you said. The NAO is familiar with East Coast snowstorms in the past, typically bringing in cold air from the northwest and locking in storm tracks along the east. That's thanks to a high-pressure system that's placed around Greenland, with a low pressure usually coming out of the northwest, or a low pressure that actually spawns off the Gulf of Mexico coast and heads northeast.
Ryan, has the NAO been negative lately?
Actually, Zach, it's been in the positive phase, and it is right now. So cold air hasn't really been in place for too long. We just had transient shots of cold air that have moved out really quick. But if we take a look here at the NAO forecast by the 0Z GFS tonight, shown in the deepest black here, you'll see that actually it's heading in a negative phase, which happens to correspond with the Thanksgiving holiday. So very important for travelers, one of the most important travel dates of the year, where a negative NAO is aligning, so that could be something to keep an eye on. The very important thing that goes along with the NAO is the AO, or Arctic Oscillation, and the image on the left here is the negative phase. Once again, the negative phase is a good thing for snow lovers, and this is when a high-pressure system sets up around the North Pole, and clockwise flow brings in cold air to the southeast of that, over the Great Lakes and to the Atlantic seaboard at times, depending on the severity of the cold shot. If you take a look at the AO forecast here, once again from our 0Z GFS of this evening, you'll take a look, and it shows here by Thanksgiving, cold air could be in place with a favorable storm track, as the AO and NAO are both in the negative category. And this is one of the first times we've had it like that since quite some time. So that's definitely something we want to watch. And this here is just a little image that kind of summarizes the last two things here, the little indices that we've looked at. And in the negative AO and NAO, it just shows that we have a favorable jet, which brings in northwest flow of low pressure systems off the Rockies, and that picks up Gulf moisture before traveling up the east coast, rather than a zonal flow, which is shown on the left, and is not good for anybody who's a snow lover. Another important indice we're looking at here is the PNA, and the PNA is the Pacific North American Oscillation, so the Pacific does play a huge part in this. It's when a high pressure actually builds and pumps a ridge up in the northerly direction up towards Washington and British Columbia. And in this setup, we have low pressure once again around the Rockies or in the Tennessee River Valley, Mississippi River Valley. And in that area, the low pressure can grab Gulf moisture once again, and this is usually found in an El Nino setup. But in this winter, don't let it scare you away. Even though La Nina or even La Nada is in place right now, where there's a neutral phase, the storm systems could be posing a El Nino type setup, so a temporary setup that proves to bring in El Nino conditions could make it easier for setup with a positive PNA.
So Ryan, the PNA has been pretty much negative since last winter, right?
Yes, Zach. As a matter of fact, it's been in the negative category predominantly for the last 2 to 3 winters. Ever since that huge winter of 2009-2010, we've been dealing with a negative PNA. But the European model, very good model in predicting indices like these, has it heading into the positive area right before Thanksgiving. So that's definitely very important for those who want to see that westerly ridge building in, and that could be the situation that we have in store for us. So the last indice we're going to take a look at is the Eastern or East Pacific Oscillation, the EPO. Now, not a very popular indice, however, it can prove vital in bringing in cold air shots or being an indicator of cold air coming into the northern plains and into the eastern part of the United States. Now, the EPO in a negative phase, as the text says here on the left, involves a ridge along the west, so much similar to the PNA, but this ridge stretches up to the Gulf of Alaska and is more of a banana-shaped ridge, which actually brings in cold air from a further north source, so Siberian cold air, and this could really bring in cold air shots. So as you see here in the northern plains in North Dakota and South Dakota, as well as Minnesota and Montana, -6 anomalies, or in other words, 6 degrees below average, and in the heart of winter, January, which is shown here, that is quite cold in terms of temperatures, so that's definitely something we want to be watching. Now Zach's going to tell you guys a little bit about the analogs that could be in place and what we've come together and put together here that could show what the upcoming weeks have in store for us.
Okay, so we put together some analogs with the indices that we just mentioned, and we came up with 2009, 2005, 2002, 2000, 1995, and 1985, and those had a negative AO, negative NAO, positive PNA, and a negative EPO. We also came up with this set of analogs, which had a neutral EPO and a neutral PNA. Either case had colder temperatures for the eastern United States and warmer temperatures for the western United States. The only difference was the north-central states, and we're thinking right now that this one has a better chance of verifying. Why do we think that? Well, the climate forecast system is supporting that idea of that analog there, with colder temperatures from the north-central states down into the eastern states and warmer temperatures in the west. So what is our overall forecast? Let's send it back to Ryan.
Now, as Zach was saying, we do have a forecast here which is coming up next week, and that's shown here with cold air coming in. Just before that, though, next week will feature some warm temperatures for parts of the week, and we have a positive EPO to show just that. However, at the end of the EPO forecast, it heads into the negative area, which could bring in cold temperatures, and that's just what the map shows here. Cold temperatures and a low pressure system, which could bring in a favorable jet track right under us in the south of the area towards Georgia and Florida, and those systems usually have a chance to turn up the coastline. And with that being said, we have just that in store for us. A cold, stormy pattern is shaping up for the end of November into December, right through your Thanksgiving holiday.
So it looks like we may be turning into a favorable pattern for snow lovers and wintertime lovers in the east. We'll be keeping you updated in the next couple of weeks if there is a storm. For now, check out our website at HWPCWX.org. We have a severe weather threat coming up on Sunday, so that's very important to check out. Also check us on Facebook at facebook.com/HWPCWX. Thanks for joining us. I'm forecaster Zach Briscoe.
I'm forecaster Ryan. Thanks for having us.
Have a good one.